We all have one. A drawer somewhere in the house filled with cables we're not quite ready to throw away. Thick printer cords from machines we no longer use. Tiny chargers from phones that feel ancient. A strange double-ended plug you're certain must belong to something important. For years, connecting our devices felt unnecessarily complicated. Every new gadget arrived with its own cable, its own shape, its own quiet demand for space in that drawer. And then, almost without ceremony, one small oval connector began replacing them all. It appeared on laptops, then tablets, then headphones and gaming consoles, and eventually, after years of resistance, even on the iPhone. That connector is called USB-C. But what exactly is USB-C? Is it just another charging cable? Or is it something fundamentally different from what came before? So to understand why USB-C took over the world, we need to go back to a time before it existed. In the 1990s, the back of a computer was a patchwork of specialized ports. There was one for the mouse, one for the keyboard, one for the printer, one for a joystick. None of them were interchangeable. Many required restarting the machine just to function. Then came USB, the Universal Serial Bus. Its promise was simple: one standard for everything. You could plug in a mouse, a camera, a keyboard, and it would just work. For a while, that promise held. The rectangular USB-A plug became familiar. It carried data, it delivered power, it simplified connections. But as devices became smaller and thinner, that large rectangle began to feel oversized. So the industry adapted. Mini USB appeared for cameras. Micro USB followed for smartphones. Printers kept their square USB-B plugs. External drives developed their own variations. Instead of true universality, we ended up with a family of look-alike connectors that weren't quite compatible. By the early 2000s, most of us were carrying multiple cables again. Traveling meant packing backups. Borrowing a charger required guessing which version someone owned. The idea of one cable for everything felt further away than ever. That is the environment USB-C entered in 2014. At first glance, it seemed modest, smaller than USB-A, rounded at the edges, and, most importantly, symmetrical. It could be plugged in either way, no more flipping it over in frustration. But the shape was only the beginning. Older USB connectors typically contained 4 pins, 2 for power and 2 for data. That limited what they could do. USB-C contains 24 pins. That difference is what makes USB-C fundamentally different. Those additional pins allow the connector to adapt. Instead of being locked into one role, USB-C can change depending on what the connected devices require. When you plug in a USB-C cable, the charger and the device don't simply send electricity immediately. They communicate first. The charger asks how much power the device can safely handle. The device responds, and only then does electricity begin flowing, and only at the agreed level. This system is known as USB power delivery. Earlier USB ports delivered a small, fixed amount of power, enough to charge a phone slowly. USB-C can deliver far more when supported by the hardware. Enough to charge laptops, enough to run larger devices entirely. This is why many modern laptops no longer need a separate round charging port. The same USB-C port that transfers files can also power the entire machine. But USB-C's flexibility doesn't stop at power. It also supports something called alternate mode. This is where the connector becomes something more than just USB. Through alternate mode, the internal pins can be reassigned to carry entirely different types of signals. A USB-C cable can transmit video to a monitor. It can carry high-quality audio. It can output to external displays while charging at the same time. In practical terms, one small port can replace multiple specialized ones. This changed how devices are designed. Fewer holes along the edges, fewer dedicated ports, thinner laptops, cleaner aesthetics, simplified hardware. So, if USB-C was clearly more capable, why didn't every company adopt it immediately? Because technology is not driven by engineering alone. It is also driven by control. For some manufacturers, owning a proprietary connector meant owning an ecosystem. It meant controlling which accessories worked seamlessly. It meant licensing agreements and revenue. Apple's Lightning connector, introduced in 2012, is an example. It was compact and reversible long before USB-C became widespread, and it reinforced Apple's tightly integrated system. But another force was building alongside these design decisions: environmental concern. Every time a new device required a different charger, old cables were discarded. Across millions of consumers, that created significant electronic waste. The European Union addressed this by mandating that many portable electronic devices use USB-C as a common charging standard. The goal was simple: reduce waste and simplify life for consumers. For companies selling products globally, maintaining different connector standards for different regions became increasingly impractical. Gradually, adoption followed. When the iPhone 15 switched to USB-C, it symbolized more than a technical update. It marked the consolidation of a global standard. USB-C had effectively become universal, yet there is one important detail that often causes confusion. Although USB-C connectors look identical on the outside, not every USB-C cable has the same capabilities inside. Some support high-speed data transfer, others do not. Some can transmit video, some only charge. Some can deliver high power, others are limited. The shape is standardized. The internal wiring determines performance. This is the trade-off of versatility. A single connector can perform many roles, but only when the cable and device both support those functions. Even so, compared to the fragmentation of the past, the simplification is undeniable. You can travel with one cable and charge multiple devices. Offices are less cluttered. Public charging stations are more consistent. Borrowing a charger is no longer a compatibility puzzle. USB-C succeeded because it removed friction. The frustration of plugging a cable in the wrong way. The inconvenience of carrying multiple chargers. The confusion of incompatible connectors. USB-C addressed these small but persistent irritations quietly and effectively. Perhaps most remarkably, it represents a rare moment of coordination across competing technology companies. Rivals agreed on a shared physical standard. That kind of cooperation is uncommon in consumer electronics. It suggests that at a certain scale, interoperability becomes more valuable than exclusivity. So what exactly is USB-C? It is a small reversible connector built with 24 internal pins. It is a power negotiation system that allows devices to safely determine how much energy to transfer. It is a data interface capable of high-speed communication. It is a video and audio conduit through alternate mode, and it is a global hardware standard shaped by both engineering innovation and environmental policy. The next time you open that drawer of forgotten cables, you're looking at a timeline of attempts to solve the same problem. How do we connect devices simply and reliably? USB-C is the most refined solution so far. It may not be the final one. Technology continues to evolve, but for now, that small oval connector represents something surprisingly rare in modern electronics: convergence. A shared language across devices, brands, and borders. And after decades of tangled plastic and mismatched plugs, that quiet simplicity is worth noticing. Thank you for watching. If there's another everyday object you've never really stopped to question, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden logic behind simple things, consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next story.